So tonight is a long meditation, as you guys who have read the notifications and all that stuff know. And I realized that is this the last meditation before the new year? I think it might be, right? It's next Thursday, we're going to be closed. And then the Thursday after that, we're going to be closed. And this hardly ever happens, but that looks right to me. I might do another talk at some point in between now and then, but some of you, this will be the last time that you get to see my busted visage after my car accident. I'll tell that as part of the talk tonight, this interesting story. I was originally had a different talk in mind, but I thought, I want to talk about this thing that happened to me because it's going to not be fresh in my mind anymore, and we haven't done a long meditation in quite a while. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to talk for about 10-15 minutes, and then you guys are going to meditate. And you can meditate for as long as you want to, but try to make it at least a half an hour long, because when we say long meditation, obviously a long meditation is much longer than that. But compared to our normal meditation time in this meditation class, which is about 15-20 minutes, a half an hour is technically long compared to that. I want to talk a little bit about the why we meditate. So we talk a lot about how to meditate. We talk about kind of some of the benefits, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. But it is important to recognize that meditation is on some level the end goal of itself. Like you don't need to meditate so that you can get something else for your life. But for many people, especially if you're starting off, you need to have some kind of a motivation and some kind of a reason beyond meditation to do it, because we are, slaves to motivation, slaves to our mental and emotional state. And so if we're not feeling great about it, we have to kind of pump ourselves up by reminding ourselves this is why we do it. I am, luckily for me, way past that point in my practice. I meditate every day. I have done that for 20 years. There's no question of, am I going to meditate today or not? Let's see how I feel. It's got nothing to do with how I feel. Also, I happen to feel pretty great most of the time because I meditate all the time. But I want to talk about this thing that happened to me that did not make me feel too great. I was driving down the street. With this motion, I had both hands on the steering wheel like you're supposed to. I was driving very correctly and very safely. I was staying inside my lanes like a good driver, and had my fiance in the car, and we were driving about 20 miles an hour. I was turning into the turn lane right across the street. We were going to go into Naan Hut and get some naan, because that place is delicious. If you haven't been, you should go. And if you live in a different state, sorry. But as we were driving along, we all of a sudden stopped because another car swerved into us in oncoming traffic and hit like her wheel on my wheel. And it was like extra kind of scary because there was no like crumpling. You know how when you hit the front of your car, it's designed to kind of go like this? Well, since it was just wheel to wheel, it was stop. And the whole car exploded, all the airbags and, stuff in the car went flying. And it was very bizarre. It was like I was driving, I blinked, I opened my eyes, and everything was different. Like my whole world was completely upside down, inside out. And the impact wasn't that terrible because I was going fairly slow, but I did slam my knee into the dash in front of me, and I have a nice gash on my knee. My fiance has some leg pain, but we don't think that it's anything super serious or lasting. We don't know for sure, but we did go to the ER and they did x-rays, so we are likely gonna survive. I also got this really nasty burn on my arm, which you guys can maybe see. It looks worse on Facebook than it does on Instagram. But it's got, the arm hair is singed off and my arm looks like cooked meat. It's gross. You guys can see it here too on Zoom. And that'll happen like in that much time. And so looking over here, like yelling, "Are you okay?" And the car is filled with the dust from the airbag. If you've ever been in a car, this is my first time. I'm going to knock on wood right now. I hope it never happens again. But this is the first time I've ever been in this kind of car accident where all the airbags go off, and the whole car is filled with dust from the airbag. I don't know if it's something that's actually inside of it, or I guess it's the chemical reaction that causes the bag to go. I don't know how airbags work. But the airbag itself I didn't need it. It didn't actually touch my face or anything, but it whacked open, and I forget this one too. I had a very discernible Toyota logo on my arm until yesterday when it started to kind of go away. But the car's filled with this stuff, so I'm trying to get out. I'm like kicking the door open because it wouldn't open, and I get out. My fiance's out on the other side. I'm like making sure that we're okay, and then I took a breath, and then I was okay. I was out of the car. The car was not going to explode. I didn't run into traffic like I think some people do when they're in shock in a crazy situation like that. I was looking around and staying calm. And this is not because I am by my nature, like the way that I was born or raised or whatever. I'm not by my nature a very naturally calm person under duress. It's something that I've trained myself to do over the last 20 years with meditation and with constantly going back to the breath with breathing exercises and things like that, mindfully breathing throughout the day. And this is the magic of our practice, is that you will practice something like meditation or breathing exercises or even the self-defense techniques that we do, Tai Chi. You'll practice something for years. And in the beginning, you might really be in this honeymoon phase where you're like, this is exciting, this is new, and then you get down here and you're like, this is getting repetitive. Why are we doing this? I'm not really recognizing the benefits as much as I did in the early stages. And you'll get a little bit of this, ups and downs with your practice. But then someday you'll have this experience that might hit you like a head-on collision, and it could be a physical, dangerous thing like this. It could be an emotional trauma, but something will hit you and bring you face to face with the progress that you have made or not. And so in this moment, when it happened, I recognize, at least now looking back at it, that I was able to stay very calm and peaceful because I have trained my mind to go back to the breath. And when your mind focuses on the breath, you are calm. You are able to keep your wits about you and respond well in any situation. And responding well doesn't mean that you're responding perfectly, because there's hardly ever the perfect thing to do. But responding well means that you are from a calm place able to actually make a decision rather than just freaking out and doing the thing that you would have naturally done otherwise. And this is what our practice is, and this is practice. It's not enough to hear something and understand it. You have to practice it so that you don't know any other way to do it. So at this point in my life, I am so used to going back to the breath and therefore being calm and in the moment that even under a super stressful situation, that's what happens. And this is what a lot of students have described. This is not the only reason to meditate. It's not even one of the most important reasons to meditate. It's a really nice reason to meditate. But it is a benefit that you will get after having practiced many years, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of times, bringing your mind back to the breath. Because the more you practice something with your body, like learning how to punch correctly, the more naturally it will come to you, the more it will automatically be there, right? It's the same thing in self-defense. If somebody's throwing a punch at you, and you see the punch coming, and you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do right now? You're going to get punched before you get to move out of the way. You have to practice it so many times that it just happens. And in the moment where things are very stressful and this thing that is causing you stress, whether it's a physical danger or it's an imminent, argument, something where people are slinging emotions at you. In that moment, if you have practiced, then it will happen automatically. You will go back to the breath, you'll be calm, and you'll be able to respond well. If it hasn't, if you have not been practicing, that's the same thing as planning for a fire when your house is burning down. It's not going to be there for you. So in the times where you feel great about life and you feel like, I don't really need meditation, I'm pretty happy, I'm pretty calm, things are nice, that is the time to practice. Because that's when you're building up those reps. Even in your mind, you've repeatedly practiced going back to the breath so that it happens for you automatically. In the times where it is very stressful and very difficult for you to practice, that is also the best time to practice. Because you are equally importantly, possibly more importantly, having this experience of my mind is not where I want it to be, but I'm bringing it back to where I do want it to be. And so when you're doing a long meditation, I'm going to suggest that you might have this experience tonight where you're sitting and maybe for the first couple of minutes, you're good. You're focusing on the breath, you're calm, you're peaceful, everything is nice, and then something pops into your head. You hear something, you smell something, just like the stress of the day, whatever pops into your head. And then you are in that thought, having that experience for a moment, and then you remember, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be meditating right now. And then normally what people do is they beat themselves up and they say, oh, I suck at meditation. Why did I do that? Why did my mind wander? That's the wrong kind of response to have. That's not responding well. And what you also don't want to do is beat yourself up for beating yourself up. That's a whole other level of messed up. What you want to do is recognize my mind wandered. I want to be focusing on the breath. I want to be here in the moment. And so you allow yourself to come back to the breath in a way that is very satisfying. You want it to feel like you're coming back home after being gone for a long trip. Or you want to feel like you're hugging a friend who you haven't been able to see because of COVID. That's what coming back to the breath should feel like, because that is reinforcing this action of coming back to the breath in a positive way. Our brain doesn't get, don't do that, it's wrong. You have to give your brain something that is the positive thing. We're looking for positive reinforcement, and this works within ourselves if we do it right. So that is, on some level, what meditation is for. It would be really nice if you sat to meditate and you got into that deep state and you stayed there the entire time. And that's the intention that you want to go into your meditation with. And if you pull it off, wonderful. But if you don't, okay, come back to the breath and recognize that action of coming back to the breath is part of the meat or the bone or the marrow of our practice. Without being knocked off that path, we don't have the chance to practice coming back to it, and we don't have the chance to practice having our mind come back to the breath and consciously being in the moment where we want to be, so that it happens outside of meditation for us. Because I'll tell you something right now. If you are in a car accident, there will be nothing that will be naturally calming about that. You're going to be in a very bad place. And so it will be a conscious decision sometimes to combat that stress by coming back to the breath. But after you've practiced that with enough conscious decisions in stressful situations as well as in meditation, then it will happen automatically. This is what our practice is for. To give us the wherewithal, the ability in that moment to deal with stress, to deal with whatever life throws at us, even if it's an entire car, and be in the moment and respond well with it. So that's what you're going to practice in tonight's meditation. Your mind wanders, you're not on the breath anymore. Don't beat yourself up for it. Allow yourself to come back to the breath, and you can even If you're meditating by yourself, you can do this with a little bit of a like satisfied sigh. You notice your mind is gone, and then come right back to meditation like that. Make it feel good. Reinforce it in a positive way like that. As many times as it takes throughout your meditation, and by the end, you will likely be in a much different state of mind. You will be much more calm and peaceful and in the moment. And maybe feeling a little bit more like in a compassionate state. Maybe you can feel compassionate for the person that totaled your brand new car. But either way, even if at the end of your meditation you didn't get all the way there, you have still practiced. You've done that work that will lead you to those deeper states and that more readily available, calm and ready state throughout your life and everyday life. Sit comfortably.